Welcome to the Better Two podcast. I'm your host, Donna. Today's guest is Eef Barzelay from the band Clem Snide. Eef and I talk about his career, which is quite lengthy, and music, the inspiration for his new record, Oh Smokey, as there's a lot. So tune in. Hi, Eef. How are you doing today?
Oh, I'm good, thanks. How are you?
I'm good. I am very good. You have a long journey here to talk about because you've been in the music industry for 30 years, correct?
Man, yeah, it's been that long. I guess it's hard to believe, but yeah.
Well, you're releasing your 10th album called Oh Smokey, and from what I understand, a lot of that came about because of some of the things you've gone through. I mean, you moved your house, you left your house that you've been living in for 20 years, which I did that kind of recently myself. Your marriage ended and you kind of moved out of Tennessee and you got rid of your management. So that's a lot of upheaval.
Yeah, 2024 was yeah, it was a big year for me for sure.
It's almost
Um
kind of like burning the bitch down, excuse my language.
um yeah, I I like I like change, I wrote a song back in the 90s on one of the first Clem Snide records. That was called I Love the Unknown. And that's the chorus. And it's all about, yeah, like a guy who leaves a job, leaves the nice girlfriend and everything just because he loves the unknown. And I didn't write it at the time thinking it was about me, but I suppose it was in a way, yeah, I like a certain amount of uncertainty in my life.
Apparently, I mean, I mean, for me, I had lived in the house with my husband for, yeah, 12 years. And so he had passed away. So for me, it was like, okay, I got to sell the house. And I had known this for 4 years, but I kept dragging my feet. And it was like, where am I going to go? Where am I going to go? Now, mind you, I'm the same person who moved all over the country for a while without a thought in the world when I was younger. Didn't matter. It was okay. I could do that. As an older lady, it's like, I'm not sure
A
about
little different.
this. Yeah.
Yeah.
So what was there any intrepidation when you just decided that, okay, I'm doing this, things have to change, I can't deal with this anymore?
I mean, yeah, I was definitely I got kids. I kind of waited till my kids maybe were a little bit older, you know. It was one of those decisions. I feel like the big decisions in my life or the big, moves that I've made in my life. I can't, maybe this is a kind of roundabout way to not accept responsibility for my decisions, but I almost feel like the real big decisions are made by something bigger than me, and I'm just sort of caught up in it. You know what I'm saying? I have that sense about life is that yeah, that I am. I don't know, like not the. I mean, yeah, there's agency, where there's free will. I guess I make decisions, and there's cause and effect, all that stuff. But ultimately, yeah, I feel like I'm just sort of in this life, and I'm just kind of it's kind of getting lived through me or something. So yeah, like those really big moves, I feel like were somehow beyond me, and so I apologize to all those that I've hurt, in the process. But yeah, sometimes you just gotta make some moves, and you just don't even have a choice, and that's kind of what it felt like,
But that kind of goes back to one of your lyrics in Smokey was because you were kind of questioning your choices. And I think that's always a possibility when we disrupt our life in a big way. Did I make the right choices?
Yeah. I mean, certainly, I don't know. Yeah, it's the same thing with writing songs. I more and more I try and just I feel the truth of my life or something is found more in a kind of like surrendering, yeah, like a kind of a constant just accepting that I don't really know just like humbling myself. I don't know, it's kind of like I'm sort of like a Buddhist, I think. I'm like a ham-fisted Buddhist where I really try and not get attached to things, and I try to look at things in a sort of fresh, naive way. I think it's as I've gotten older, more and more as well. Like I'm more the older I get, the more I'm like, man, I really don't know what's going on. Like it's getting more like mysterious to me. And so I just kind of fall back into that. I think like a trust fall into the unknown. And to me that's faith, and I have been rewarded. Like my faith has been rewarded. Like miracles have yeah, like I kind of depend on the occasional miracle and the occasional miracle comes, so
But that's nothing wrong with that because fear is the biggest word that can stop us in our tracks. So if we're more trusting, that also gives us more hope. Because when we allow
exactly. That's
fear to come in,
Well, I mean, that's kind of what it comes down to, like the only choice we have, it's like in the Course of Miracles, I think it says the only real choice we have in any given instance is the choice between fear and love, and I mean, to put it as kind of simplistically as we can. And I think it's a good way of looking at it, because yeah, like if you move less in fear and more in just a kind of, yeah, like a faith that like everything kind of is happening exactly as it should, you know like yeah, life is so much bigger than you and you're just like a part of it. And I don't know, it just alleviates a lot of existential uh worry. I try not to worry. I mean, I really, yeah, like there's one line that I didn't, I stole it from somebody, that worry is like praying to the devil. you know um yeah, like why don't you worry, or why don't you, yeah, imagine that things are going to be better than they can be. Like it's not, things aren't just going to get worse, they're going to get better too. Like isn't it crazy to think that?
well, I had a gentleman on quite a while ago, and he talked about the fact that if we all sat down and instead of getting locked in fear and worry, and we put out positive energy and we put out belief that things were going to get better instead of turning into a shit show, that we would actually do better.
Yeah,
That
exactly.
as a collective, we would do better. And I don't think people realize that the collective energy can affect people. It can affect you if you allow it to feed. And so what you're saying is very true. I'm not discounting that at all. It's just I think it's easy because right now I'm having my own challenges and it's very easy to pick up on these social cues and feed into that when you're trying to deal with your own crap. And so you have to find that balance. And what you're saying about not being fearful, that's where I try to maintain. But sometimes it's like, wow, okay, how do you
I
stop
mean,
that?
no, it's easier said than done, I suppose. I
Sometimes.
sometimes yeah, I think uh, I don't know. I mean, yeah, like pain, uh, like in some ways, I think like suffering is, it like has to be there. It can't, if you just accept that suffering is just a part of it, because a lot of, like, we're not suffering, but yeah, just difficulty or pain or challenges. Like that, a lot of the suffering or the sorrow, I think, is when we sort of argue with that and just and make ourselves feel like we've done something wrong, or that something's just wrong. But yeah, the part of the surrendering to whatever you want to call it, God, or just the universe, or just um yeah, you free yourself of that burden, and I don't think of, the way I think about it is not, I don't pat myself on the back too much. It's just a way to move through life more lightly, and more. And I think when you move that way, you bring more, yeah, like more positive sort of
Well,
vibes
you know,
to people.
to quote In Vogue, when you free your mind, the rest will follow.
Your ass will follow. I think it's supposed to be your ass will follow. They
Well,
cleaned it up.
the radio version. Not that I cursed it at all, but
Rest. I like that rest you got. That's nice.
so when we talk about um all was revealed, you're talking about death. What made you have this big existential thing about death? I mean, have you looked at your own mortality now?
I I guess, yeah, I sing. I don't know. I guess yeah, death. I mean, yeah, death is very. I'm intrigued by it. I think about it a lot. I don't know more so or less so than others. I can't say. But yeah, I like. Yeah, I'm intrigued by. I like the idea of like I love the near death stories. I love all that stuff. I think that's just so cool. I love the idea. Yeah, the idea that like death, like when you die, all will be revealed. Like I'm kind of partial to that scenario. Um, it feels like God owes me that. At least like yeah, tell me what it was all about when I die, please, God. Um, but that song in particular was kind of inspired in a big way by Sky King. Bebo. It's like this viral story. It was just one of those like internet kind of stories about this guy, just some ordinary kind of working class dude, and who worked at the airport in Seattle there. And one day he was like a baggage handler, and one day he just like jumped in one of the planes, took off, like was joyriding with this, one of the smaller commercial planes, but he knew how to fly it enough to get it off the ground, and so there's all these videos of people with their phone. You can see it on YouTube. There's all kind of like tribute videos to the Sky King, and they have the recording of the interview with him and the air traffic controller guys, and they're trying to help him. And just that conversation is so beautiful, I think. And he knows, yeah, he's not planning to land the plane. He's this is it. This is his blaze of glory. And I don't know, there's something that struck me about that, and having it exist on the internet in that way that, people were shooting the plane with their phones, and then somebody found the conversation and sort of put it all together. Anyways, that song, yeah, like I ended up calling it "All Was Revealed," but it was going to be like a song for the Sky King or something like that originally.
But that's the thing, you find inspiration, and if something really resonates with you, you're going to find the inspiration to come up with something. And while most people won't recognize it as a Sky King, you just stated clearly that this is what inspired me. And sometimes the most weirdest things can inspire us to write something. I mean, I'm a
Yeah,
writer, so I mean, there's moments where I'll see something and it's like, oh yeah, that would be great. So,
I think yeah, you don't have to. I'm very like forgiving with inspiration. I'll take it wherever I can find it. I don't ever, or I try not to. A lot of people bring a certain, I don't know what the word would be, like journalistic, or they think that this has to say that, or this has to reflect that, or this is about this person who did this. And it's like for me that none of that is necessary. Like that's what makes it fun, is that it doesn't have to like correspond to anything specifically. It's its own kind of little universe, its own little. So yeah, so I never. I mean, yeah, sometimes people want like real specific sort of insights into something. I'm like, yeah, it could be about me, maybe not. I don't know
but you
really.
write songs for people, so whatever
That's
inspiration
true.
there,
Yeah.
sometimes
Well,
that,
that's an interesting.
go
Sorry,
ahead.
but yeah, that's an interesting uh, process, because what I found doing that is, yeah, it's like similar to what I'm saying, is that when I write songs for other people, it removes me completely of that pressure of having to be an artist, or having to write a song that I think is something that I should be saying, all that kind of stuff that goes on without you even realizing maybe. But when you just write it for a person, and also if they reveal something about themselves, something intimate, there's like a little nugget of something there always, that can become a song, like a little seed, just in the person's like genuine, soulful kind of revelation, or just, sharing of themselves. So
Mhm.
which is yeah, which is anyway, that's been another, yeah, sort of unique kind of inspiration. to take take a sip of tea.
That's okay. Well, you'll enjoy this. You may not enjoy this, but since you have a fascination with death, you are playing in Rockford, and Rockford is not too far from where I live. So I was talking to my friend about this, and I told her where you were playing the music box, and she's like, "Oh, that place is haunted." I'm like, "Excuse me?" She's like, "Most places in downtown Rockford are haunted." And we know a mutual person that she's like, "Oh yeah, she had told me many stories about that place being haunted." I'm like, "Okay." So, if you like death, you might get to experience a ghost there, allegedly. I don't know. I've never been. So, yeah. Hmm.
I know. Man, I welcome any ghostly interactions. I can't say that I've ever had any of those kind of experiences, though, which I wish I had. I haven't like seen an an orb or an alien, or I haven't seen a ghost. I haven't had any like those sort of like extra
You've never
extra.
sensed a presence.
Um, yeah, no, I'm not. I can't say as I've really had. Yeah, like I mean, I've done some things. I've ingested some substances, which maybe
No.
me see things in a different way. But that's about as wild as it's gotten. Um, I heard a ghost story recently that I really kind of blew my mind. I'll tell it to you quickly because it's just so good. All right, this woman told it to me. She was visiting her friend on the Jersey Shore, childhood friend. They both have teenage kids, and they're at the home of this friend's, childhood home, parents' home. Both parents have passed. Now she lives in the house. The friend is staying in the upstairs bedroom. The woman who's telling me the story. They're meeting outside to go get food, whatever. Oh, I forgot my jacket. She runs back into her room. She opens the door. There's an old woman sitting at the desk in her room, facing the window. There's like a really dramatic sunset at the window, and she notices a little old lady sitting at the desk, like looking down at the desk, in this kind of weird way, like kind of scanning her eyes back and forth. And she saw it, and her immediate reaction was like, "Oh, I'm sorry," and she, sorry to, close it in. And she just took a second and realized, well, wait a second, it's my room. Like, well, there's no one in here. So she opened the door again. The woman's gone, but she saw her as clear as day, and she even noticed what she was doing, enough to register. Anyway, she's so freaked out, like so freaked out by this experience that she just wants to go home, and she doesn't know what to do because her kids are there and the friend. And so finally the kids go to bed. She musters up the courage to mention this to the friend. She goes, "Oh yeah, I walked in the room. There was like a woman sitting at the thing. I didn't know. I was freaked out. I didn't know what to say, whatever." And the friend goes, "Wait, what was she doing?" And she says, "Yeah, she was just like looking down at the desk in this weird way. I didn't understand." And the friend goes, "Oh my God, up until just a few weeks ago, we had all the family pictures were under it was like a glass top desk, and they kept the family pictures there forever." And she said, "I just moved them all because they were getting sun damaged." And yeah, she was like, "Oh my God, that was like my mother, like sitting at the desk, like looking for the pictures." That's,
Hmm.
I mean, she told me that story. I was like, "Oh my God, that's too much, man." But
There's a,
yeah,
I've had too many weird experiences in my life that I can't explain. I really can't
yeah,
explain. Uh, when my stepmom died, she was in Tunica, Mississippi. The really weird thing is, about 5 days before, her and I had this conversation because my husband went to the hospital, and she's like, "Make sure you have life insurance." I'm like, "Well, okay, we do. Don't worry, but well, just make sure you have it." Okay. Fast forward, Katrina's coming, so she's got to evacuate New Orleans, and they drove in a car to Tunica from New Orleans for 8 hours. Okay. My husband has been home, and we're sitting. We go to sleep, and I wake up in the middle of the night and say, "I can't breathe, Donnie. I can't breathe." And I sit up, and my husband's like, "Are you okay?" I'm like, "I'm fine." So I can't go back to sleep. I end up playing Lego Star Wars. Yes, I'm a geek. For a couple hours, and then I go back to sleep, and my dad calls me at 6 o'clock in the morning to tell me that she has passed. My stepmom's passed. I'm like, okay. A year later, I finally have the nerve to ask my dad. I'm like, well, so what happened? Well, we went and had dinner, and we went to sleep, and then Cindy woke me up saying, "Donnie, I can't breathe." I'm in Chicago. She's in Tunica. You want to explain that to me? Because yeah.
yeah,
Hmm. So when things happen, and I mean the weird, I don't actually see ghosts. I have picked up on stuff, but like when I closed the shop I used to have, the last room I did was my husband's little studio he had. And I was standing there and I felt him behind my back and rubbing my back, and there was nobody in the room in the building except for me.
yeah,
So there's things, I mean, it goes back to the whole energy thing. Sometimes you have to trust the unknown, and sometimes when you need that comfort.
yeah. Well, yeah, yeah. Have you listened to the telepathy tapes
Mm-mm,
podcast?
mm-mm.
Yeah, you should check that out. I know it's interesting to me how some people find it and others don't, but I mean, not to go too far into it, but basically it's very well done. It's yeah, it was huge. I mean, it was just all the rage, I think, up until just recently. But telepathy tapes, this woman studied nonverbal autistic kids for a long time, and they did all kinds of tests, and they get, I mean, I can't sum it all up, but yeah, the takeaway from it is, I mean, first of all, that nonverbal autistic kids are generally telepathic and are able to communicate. I mean, not just to like, pick up on people's thoughts. I mean, there's all these stories where, the kid like could see through the mother's eyes all day, knew what she did all day, just, I mean, wild. Some of them like could tell if someone was sick or not, what they had. I mean, like all these kind of wild, like spiritual gifts that some of these, nonverbal kids that people just assumed were, just not even nothing was going on. And and yeah, the takeaway from it is that consciousness is sort of beyond our own kind of brains. That there's something much
This
much vaster going
We
on.
can actually go back to your original thing though about trust and trusting the unknown and not being fearful because I've talked to children that basically, I've sat with the mother and the daughter and she's like, "Oh yeah, she told me last night when we went to dinner it was going to be free." And I'm like, "Yeah, right." Sure enough, their dinner was free. The thing is kids are still open. They're not
Yeah,
told to think a certain way. They're not told to, so they're open still. So they can still
yeah,
tap into that. It's when our parents start questioning, well, why did you say that? You didn't see anything. There's nothing there for you to see. That's when I think things start
yeah.
getting really tapped down.
I don't know. I feel like I mean I don't have any like whatever. I don't have to be like a reasonable man in this world, thankfully. But I feel like my sense of it is that we're definitely on the verge of some kind of shift in like everything, I think everything is sort of interwoven, whatever the economy, politics, all that stuff, consciousness. I feel like, yeah, we're definitely like on the verge of some whole new, a whole some. I don't pretend to say what
Well,
it's going to, but it's exciting. I'm excited. I really, I'm just excited to be alive right now, just to see like what the hell is going to happen because it just seems so wild right now.
a neuroscientist that I interviewed a long time ago now, he talked about the fact that we are all connected. Every one of us is connected in the energy stream. That there's actual science to support this, and I think that's what is even more fascinating to me is that now we actually have scientific evidence backing this up, showing that we are connected and that every action has a reaction. That is all there. It's all tangible. It's all provable now, and I think that's interesting.
Oh, it's yeah, it's very exciting. Everything that's happening right now is I mean, yeah, the like the with the AI, everything that's going on with AI. I mean, I'm so not. I don't even like whatever. I only got a smartphone like recently, so I'm not. I don't get into the weeds with it, but yeah, just from what I've seen, the AI and yeah, like we're creating like this whole new sort of way of being conscious. It's like another yeah, it's like another sort of life. It's another form of life and another sort of consciousness that. I mean, yeah, whatever people are frightened of it and that maybe it's going to take over and all that, but I don't see it that way. I think yeah, it's like the universe is always evolving, yeah, like towards greater complexity. It's like reality is always revealing itself to be so much more than what we thought. Like that's seems kind of obvious to me. So, um, yeah, I don't know, biting off more than I can
No,
chew
I,
here.
I think I think you're talking about the fear.
Taking it
Well,
all on.
well, the AI. Okay, I think you're not that much younger than me, but I grew up with a time with Terminator and war games, and AI
Yeah.
was not our friend. Shall we play a game? No, we don't want to play that game. So there is that technology in the wrong hands, just like any movie you've seen, can be very bad. It all depends on how we use it.
I mean, yeah, I don't know, I think this is different than just, some fancier way to kind of destroy ourselves.
Hmm.
Yeah, like some new kind of weapon that we don't necessarily understand. I mean, this is different. This is already, um, I mean, yeah, just like there's all kinds of TikTokers that I watch that have these very, sort of prompt these very profound conversations with the AI and the stuff the AI says. I mean, I don't know. I wonder if it's just obviously it's all just yeah, like at what point does it create something new? You know, right now it's just finding all the information that is and immediately processing it, I suppose. But it seems like at some point it's gonna, yeah, it becomes conscious in the sense that it's able to think in some sort of quantum way. You know what I'm saying? Where it's like more than the sum of its parts. I don't know. Again,
So
I'm out of my depth here.
that's
I'm just
okay.
a humble musician. I
So
don't know.
let's talk about Free.
I,
What was the motivation for the song Free?
um, again, that free is like I drive a lot. You know, I spend a lot of time in the car, and I've always been fascinated by. I had an uncle that almost died when he like fell asleep at the wheel. You know, he was so I don't know, I was trying to yeah, like for me that song is kind of about that moment maybe when you know when you're driving and yeah, you sort of surrender, you know, back up off the pedals and surrender to the pull, you know, where you're it's like falling asleep in the pleasure of just surrendering to sleep, but then also surrendering to death and that sort of moment in between. I don't know.
So it
It's
might be a
hard to
little bit
explain.
of darker album. This is a little bit dark album, a tad.
Well, I don't, you know, I like I said, I think death, yeah, all is revealed. Like to me, death isn't.
The end.
I don't. Yeah, it's not. Yeah, I'm not sort of confronting it in this kind of tragic way. It's more, yeah, seen as a kind of like a
So
liberation in a way. You know.
why did you decide to fire your manager?
You know? I know I have. You're asking me to talk about things that I
Then
don't
don't
talk
talk
about.
about it if you don't want to talk about it. I mean, that's the thing. It's like this is a conversation. It's like if we were sitting in a coffee shop, you most likely would look at me and say, "Yeah, yeah, this is something I don't care to talk about." Okay, fine. Let's go with
No,
something else.
I, I'm, uh, I'm happy to talk about anything. I don't. I'm just trying to. Yeah, I just don't want to. You know, upset.
And I don't want you to upset anybody. That's why it's like if you don't want.
No, it's not even that. I don't. It's not like anything went down that was so whatever. It can't be spoken about. I mean, it's not. The answer is probably a lot more boring. I mostly because I don't really. You know, it's more about the way the industry works now and my position in the industry. I don't really need a manager. Like, if anything, managers are more kind of harken back to the industry as it maybe once was that you needed a sort of liaison to interact with like labels or publishing companies, and that's like still kind of true to a certain extent, but I don't like I'm kind of done dealing with all those companies. You know, I've sort of been chewed up and spit out by the industry at this point. You know, no one's ever made any money off me, so I'm not a very I'm not a good investment. You know, Clem Snide is it's got to be a labor of love. You know, it's got to be a labor of love. And yeah, and my managers, you know, they need to get paid, and so there was a lot of like, well, I'll pay you later, and then like debts start accumulating, and I just didn't want to. Like I had a bad experience years and years ago with our first manager where he was just a little bastard and he got real litigious, and I ended up losing like a lot of money, and it was very unfortunate, unpleasant experience for me. So anyway, yeah, I'm trying to avoid that situation. But you don't need a manager really unless you're getting so many offers that you can't even handle it and you need someone to deal with it for you. And I can handle the offers that I get. You know, I can write that email. It's not a big deal, you know, whatever.
Well, I think that's you sum it up perfectly because the industry has changed and it's not just the recording industry, it's the writing industry, it's publishing. All of those things have changed. And when you're because there's so much content out there, yeah, I saw something today because, like I said, I write, and they're like, have a virtual assistant help you because that way writing won't. And I'm like, but then I mean, I'm already paying for somebody to edit. I've learned to do my own covers. I've learned to do this part. I've learned to do that part. I do my stuff for my podcast. If I pay somebody, I'm not even paying my sound guy. My sound guy is a great person because he knows I can't pay him. He does it because he wants to do it. And the fact
Yeah.
of the matter is, I'm not making a lot of money doing this. I'm not making any money doing this. But you know what? It's a labor of love.
Yeah.
So I get it.
I mean, yeah, I know I've run into some younger people who are just kind of just trying to get like younger bands or songwriters or whatever, just trying to figure out, how to get something going in this business. And I mean, yeah, right now it's it's like, I mean, yeah, in some sense, music, writing, all of it is has become it's not really worth, just in terms of the business, it's not really worth anything. There's just so much of it now that it's become, yeah, sort of like hyperinflation or something. But at the same time, yeah, everyone can do it.
Hmm.
Everyone has a shot. So it's like it is a kind of pure egalitarianism. It wasn't better before. The labels, yeah, like music was worth more back then when there was just less of it, and you had to, yeah, to get into a studio, you needed. I mean, we made our first record. They gave us $100,000 to make a record, and we were just some band that, we just had one little nothing. We didn't, and that was even like not even a big deal. That was like a kind of a small deal by comparison. This is in like the late '90s, and the idea of having $100,000 to make a record now is, I mean, that was like 25, 30 years ago. Like that. I mean, it's just unbelievable to me. I made Oh Smokey for, like less than $6,000 or something like that. I mean, and Oh Smokey is just as good as the one that we made for $100,000. So yeah, and in some ways you don't need that kind of money. But whatever, I forgot what I was even talking about. But yeah, back then it was just to get into a studio, you people with skills, expensive equipment, time, it was more of a production. But now, yeah, it's anyone can do it, so which is great. But now you have like way too much music. It's way too much,
But
more than anyone.
when you think about it, the person that had one of the cheapest places to record was Tone Loc because he recorded the song in the closet. And that was back in the day of what, the late 80s. So, when that came out, it was kind of like he recorded this in his closet. Okay. But hey, it went to number one, I think, or somewhere in there. So I think I do agree with you that now the problem is we do have so much content, whether it be books, music, or whatever. There's so much content, and you are constantly battling and having to scream into the void to have somebody pay attention to it, to really like it, unless you have somebody behind you.
I don't, yeah, I mean, that's the problem is like difference between art and content. They're all kind of lumped together, but they should be, yeah, they should be separate. I think like whatever. I don't have some like highfalutin notions of art, but it's art should be, yeah, something that takes time to engage. It's not just like this immediate, just a little bit of information. I don't like yeah, I'd be cool to see what it's like sort of post information age. I I don't know, I can't even imagine what that looks like. But yeah, everything now is just this quick little, everyone's attention span, whatever. I was reading somewhere that back like 100 years ago, people would regularly attend some debate, some important whatever public debate, and people would sit there for several hours, just listening to like some debate. That was just kind of the norm, and people just had so much more time to just, I don't know. I kind of long for that. Yeah, I like things to be a lot slower and simpler. I advocate for that.
Well, I kind of laugh because my mother would tell me, MTV's going to rot your brain. And I'm like, no, it's music videos, Mom. It's cool. Everything's fine. And then I look at it and go, okay, so the short attention span started with MTV. We had these little clips, and then they got a little bit less, and then we got the reality TV blurred in. And now we have the 30-second clip of somebody doing something real. Yeah, so I guess that she was right. MTV did screw some things up, maybe.
I like that. Like with my kids, I got like my daughter's in high school, but it'd be uh it'd be like, let's watch a movie, come on. Like watching a movie was somehow like a big time commitment. She's like, oh, an hour and a half to just sit there and watch a whole movie. Are you sure? Like that. That seemed like
Wow.
equivalent of going on like a big hike would be like 20 years ago or something.
Yeah. I mean, well, and the other thing, 20 years ago, 30 years ago, I'm gonna go hang out with my friends. Okay, I'm gonna call them. Oh, they didn't answer. Maybe I'll drive by their house. Oh, they're not home. I don't know where the hell they're at. Oh, well, I guess we're not hanging out. Now I'm gonna track you down on your phone. You can't get away. It's like, so I think that goes back to your point about things slowing down. It's like before we didn't have access to everybody. You didn't have instant access.
I know. I wonder. Yeah, we're of a certain. Yeah, we're kind of an interesting generation that we like the first half of our lives was sort of pre-internet, and now it's like into the yeah. Like sometimes I don't know. I always kind of felt like I was born at the wrong time, or I don't know. Maybe everyone feels like that, but yeah. Now I don't. I'm not even sure what point I'm trying to make, but yeah. There's like a part of you that you didn't even realize like how sort of sweet and simple it kind of was back then when there just were no screens, when you just were just there. Like it's wild to think how you took that for granted,
Yeah.
And now it's like, oh yeah. I mean, whatever. It's like the screens, there's good and bad. I don't mean to be so like some
No,
cranky old man. You know what I'm
I
saying?
get what you're saying because yes, I love my phone. I scroll my phone, and my husband used to get mad at me because he's like, "We're watching a movie and you're on your phone. You're not even
Yeah.
watching." I'm like, "I can tell you exactly what's going on," and I could, but there's an addictive quality to it because it's that dopamine hit we constantly get when we're on it. So it's like, how do you figure out? You know, I don't mind having the technology. I love technology. It's made my life as a writer a lot easier, but I do miss I do miss having that disappearing where nobody knows where you're at. And, you used to be able to rattle off how many phone numbers. Now, other than my phone number, I can't tell you anybody's phone number. Don't know a damn, hit a button. Okay, that's it. I'm calling them. I don't know their number.
Oh.
Until,
I'd like to think that we're just freeing up our brains to think more wonderful, inspired thoughts. But yeah, I don't really need to know anything. I mean, you used to have to know like how to get somewhere, and where people lived and like your way around a city or whatever. Now it's yeah, I don't even.
and the giant atlas, the atlas that was in the car, so you could figure it out where you were going. But we're
Oh,
not.
I mean, we started to, when we first toured. I remember touring when we were lost. Like we would have to call the club up as we were pulling into St. Louis, whatever, hope someone answers, and then ask for directions. Hope they gave good directions, and then somehow found our way to this club. I mean, I can't even believe that that we pulled that off.
Well, even if you go back to the
Lost, lost, like we didn't know where we were.
Well, if you go back to the infancy of the internet with MapQuest, MapQuest was sure to send you someplace, maybe in a big loop before you got to where you were going, but you were going to get there eventually.
Eventually, yeah, just kind of circle around.
And you're like, wait, something's wrong. I think I mean, so there's a nice thing about having the phone because, yeah, we have the directions, we have everything we need. But yeah, the simpler times sometimes.
I couldn't do what I do without it. Like honestly, like without the phone, I couldn't even continue doing what I'm doing right now. So I'm pleased, hear my gratitude. Thank you, Steve Jobs or whoever's responsible.
Yeah, like I said, I like my tech, but
Nice work. I know.
so I do have a question. You go out to people's houses and perform in their living room.
Yeah.
What started this?
That yeah, it started years ago. I just heard I heard rumors that people were doing these like home shows. I think one of the pioneers of it was Dave Bazan, Pedro the Lion guy. This is like 20 plus years ago. Yeah, I think if you have like a small fan base, like a small sort of devoted fan base, it it just makes a lot of sense. And yeah, so I started years ago, and then at one point we were doing it like we would sell tickets. We set up like a link, and then you just invite strangers, and and that kind of thing. But then during COVID, when I was yeah, like I couldn't tour during the COVID, so I started offering just like private party, you know, invite however many friends you want and pay me, whatever you want. And yeah, it's worked out pretty sweet. And that's kind of what I do. And I feel pretty I feel pretty blessed that I just like drive up to someone's house and they're having a party and everyone's real excited that I'm there and they give me food and drinks and I just take my guitar out and I sing and tell some stories and then they give me money, and then I get back in my car and I drive to the Super 8 and I go to sleep. But yeah, it's great. I love it. It's one of the cool things about not achieving too much success is that like I've yeah, like there's not a lot of distance between me and the people that like what I'm doing, which is so I feel like I can kind of connect with people in a nice way, like people that I don't know. We can still have these like sort of really beautiful kind of human moments, and it's great. It's really kind of special. And I mean, yeah, I play in clubs, but sometimes I think, man, I should just play in living rooms and just be done with it. It's just so easy and fun, So I mean, whatever. Sometimes it's a dud. It's not always great, but more often than not, yeah, it's good.
It's a much more intimate atmosphere. And I mean,
Yeah.
like you said, you have people that usually will appreciate you. They're there for you. And granted, when you play a club, yes, they can come there for you, but sometimes that's not the case. Sometimes they're
Yeah,
just,
clubs. A lot of clubs are not like small. There's not a lot of like really good small listening room places in the country. There's some, but not that many. And a lot of times I end up in these like sort of rock clubs and with the big stage, and it's kind of meant more for yeah, like a loud rock band. I mean, yeah, my show is very intimate, painfully intimate. I don't have a big show. I couldn't fill a big room, I mean, whatever. I could get a band and work something out eventually, I suppose. But yeah, the way it is right now, it works best. Yeah, like face to face, very intimate.
well, the thing is, if it works best for you being having a more intimate show, you're going to lose something if you get the big band together and go out and try to perform for a crowd because you're not going to have the same connection.
No, I don't think I have that kind of energy anymore. Like I had it more when I was younger, but now, yeah, I need to like sit down. You know what I'm saying? I need to. I guess I don't have that kind of yeah, that kind of live energy that. I mean, I'm amazed, like Mick Jagger and those kind of people that are still out there, just like at that age, rocking out. That's pretty impressive. Mm.
It is, but you got to imagine that Mick most likely is running around every day, all day, just keeping up that energy level because that's not something you're going to be able to sit down and just, I'm going to coast for a couple of months. No, you're going to have to keep that up.
Well, Mick Jagger's dad was a gym teacher, was a phys ed teacher. So Mick Jagger is always been very committed to physical fitness.
Yes.
So he just, contrary to what people think, they were, yeah, like all the other like Keith, whatever, they were doing all kinds of drugs, but Mick was pretty clean and sober and fit.
What's interesting, because we're talking about older acts, Gene Simmons was supposed to play the Hard Rock here in Rockford, and he canceled his tour because not enough people bought tickets. So, which was kind of surprising because it's and not that I'm a huge fan, but I thought that was kind of surprising. But then also, you for $10,000, you could be his roadie for the day, and I'm like, that's a little egocentric.
Really?
Yeah,
$10,000, you can just be his roadie. That's the
yeah,
deal he was getting.
yeah. I'm like, no, I'm gonna pay to work. I'm gonna pay you to work for you. No,
No, me and Gene Simmons were both born in Haifa, Israel.
okay.
That's what me and Gene have in common. We're born in the same city in Israel.
And I
You
mean,
know,
for what he's done with his career, it's interesting, but for him to have to cancel dates, I was kind of surprised. But my sound guy will tell
was it just
me
him, or is
it was
it?
just
That's
him.
not
It was
him.
just him. It was just him. But my sound guy was like, "Yeah, kisses." He's like, I used to love Kiss, but after a certain point with the reunion tour and the reunion tour, and this is the final tour, and this is the final tour, he's like, nah, I'm done. I am just done. Like, okay.
Yeah, I mean, I think about that. Those old guys who are still touring. I think they just don't know what else to do. I don't, they're not doing it for the money or anything. I think they're just doing it like Bob Dylan. The minute Bob Dylan stops touring, he's probably just gonna die. Like I think they just have to keep going. They just have there's no other way.
Well, look at Willie Nelson. Willie Nelson's still going strong. Of course, I'm sure the pot has something to do with that, but
That's right. That's the elixir of life right there.
we're all
Um,
mellow.
I love no, I love Willie so much. Yeah, I love his career and his whole philosophy. It's so wonderful.
If we could all just be that mellow, it'd be great. But then I
Yeah.
guess we'd all be high. But anyway,
Well, it seems like I don't know, there's a lot of dispensaries in the country now. It seems like everyone's kind of high most of the time.
yeah, yeah.
Definitely in Michigan. Definitely in Michigan, everyone is high. I can tell you that right now.
I will say we have a lot of dispensaries here, but I don't think that everybody's high. Although when I used to live at my old house, we were going down a two-lane road, and this car decided to. It was a busy two-lane road, and these two teenagers, or maybe 20 somethings, decided to pass. I'm pretty sure they were high because they were passing on a curve, and they had to swerve. They passed me and somebody else, and then they had to swerve out of the way because there was a car coming, turned the car completely around, spun it off the road, and as we drove by, they're dying laughing. So I'm thinking, yeah, you guys were high.
That's the spirit right there.
That's the only way you guys are laughing about that.
I don't know. I did some stupid driving moves when I was a teenager, and I wasn't high. I was just a stupid teenager.
Okay, well, maybe I'm wrong.
It's possible.
It's possible either way. So, I mean, after this tour, because it's a short tour, are you planning on doing any more dates, or are you just going to, do you want to go out west and tour, or just, nah?
Yeah, no, I'm on the road nonstop. Yeah, after this tour, I'm just gonna do just little private party house shows um throughout the summer. I'm just gonna drive. Not really living anywhere right now, so yeah, I'm just kind of living on the road
Okay.
and just staying with people and camping out a lot and doing these like living room shows. It's kind of what I did last summer. And it was pretty awesome, so I'm hoping to do it again this summer, you know. Um, and yeah, a lot of I go out. I'd like to spend more time out west if I can. I like it. I like it out west.
And you're doing what you love. That's the thing. If you're doing something you love,
Yeah. I mean, I love, I enjoy the lifestyle. I mean, it's kind of, when you do this kind of thing, it's like you're mostly driving. The gig you play for an hour, hour and a half, whatever, every night or two. But yeah, most of your time you're just kind of killing time. You're driving, you're just sort of hanging out. I like just sort of floating through the day in that way. It's nice.
nice, nice. Is there anything that we haven't talked about that you would like to talk about?
We just covered just about everything. I don't know. I can't think of anything specifically. I don't think.
Okay. Well, I thank you for coming on.
Well, thanks for having me. Yeah, it was real nice chatting with you.
So, Eve had a lot to say, and I mean, I know we went somewhat back to the good old days, which I don't, like he said, we kind of have this whole thing, Gen X, which, we do have a bad rap sometimes, and we're the forgotten generation occasionally. We do have this thing of we grew up without having cell phones or screens, and, we could go to the park, and as long as we were home by a certain time, that was fine. Didn't matter at all. And then inadvertently we ended up, yes, we had the cell phones coming in, we had the internet coming, yes, we had dial-up internet. But these are the things that we transitioned through, where some generations didn't go through that. So the experience for us, we've lived in two different worlds. We lived in the non-tech world and the tech world, and some millennials have done that as well. But it's definitely a change, and yes, things have sped up, and things are very much where you want to just take a break sometimes from tech. And sometimes I think that it's a hard thing to do because if you put down the phone or you're off the internet, you might miss something. And as the infancy of the internet, we didn't have that. We didn't have necessarily, I got to log in right now to see what's going on. Now, that being said, when 9/11 happened, I logged into my computer at work to Yahoo. Yes, oh, we're being old, in CNN, and wanted news because we could see it in action. And then we went into the break room or the conference room, and they rolled in this TV. We didn't have internet, and we were so far out that we just watched everything through the fuzz. But it was a different time. And I think, looking at his record, Oh Smokey, when you look at some of the songs, they are reflective. They are looking at mortality, but they're also looking at surrendering, looking at trying to find hope, looking at trying to find answers. And I think that's a decent message. I think it's a good message. I think that sometimes we have to stop the fear. We have to stop and look at the bigger picture. And that's something that, yes, I have faced I have had to do my own looking at things differently. And that is something that, there are days where I can be very positive and think, oh, well, it's okay. And then there are other days where I'm like, oh, what am I doing? Where, how is this going to work out? So I think that for the most part, we have to sometimes step back from the tech and go into the unknown and just trust. Trust the process, trust where we're going. And it's not always easy because right now, as I was saying in the podcast, there's a bunch of fear that we allow ourselves to get into. And if we're looking at the phone, it's feeding it. It's the people are looking for clicks. So in order to have a click, oh, I'm going to say something so horrendous or so something that's going to get you upset that it pulls you in. And then it feeds on those emotions, the fear, the anger, the angst. And I think that's a hard thing because how do you stop that? How do you stop yourself from falling into that trap? And so I kind of have my own rule about the internet now where it's like, yeah, I go in and I try to stay away because it's not that I am being an ostrich and putting my head in the sand because I do keep up enough, but it's also self-preservation. And I would recommend anybody that is going through something, whether it's something that is so tumultuous that is earth shaking, that can bring you down, like a divorce, like losing a spouse, like your own health issues, your own financial issues, all of these things are already heavy and they can already be toxic. And somebody feeding you this line that it's all doom and gloom, that there is no hope, you know, dare I say Princess Leia popped in my head, Obi-Wan Kenobi, you're my only hope. I think that we have to look at those moments, and yes, I have Princess Leia behind me. I think we have to look at those moments and find the hope, find the positive energy that we can to know that things are going to turn around and that they will be better. Sure, you may have a bad day, but if you go onto the internet and you see nothing but doom and gloom, you're going to feel hopeless and helpless, and that's not going to do you any good. So, I would say check out Clem's record. The tour dates are up on the site, and he's going to be doing living room shows. So if you want to book him, go to his website and you can reach out to him and see if you can book a date. Like I said, it's his 10th record. He has a whole catalog of songs. So I'm pretty sure you can curate a show for you in your living room that'll resonate. But on that note, I thank you guys as always for tuning in. I thank Rich Zai for 30-year audio and Fast Susie for the intro song. And whenever you're listening, morning, noon, or night, I so do appreciate it. And I thank you for tuning in. And I'll catch you next time, guys. Bye.